A miracle is never lost. It touches many people you may not even know, and sometimes produces undreamed of changes in forces of which you are not even aware. This is not your concern. The miracle will also always bless you. This is not your concern either, but it is the concern of the record, which always measures what it was supposed to measure. I want to finish the instructions about sex, because this is an area which the miracle worker must understand. Inappropriate sex drives, or misdirected miracle impulses, result in guilt if expressed, and depression if denied. We said before that all real pleasure comes from doing God's will. Whenever it is not done, an experience of lack results. This is because not doing the will of God is a lack of self. Sex was intended as an instrument for physical creation, see previous notes, to enable souls to embark on new chapters in their experience, and thus improve their records. The pencil was not an end in itself, see earlier section. It was an aid to the artist in his own creative endeavors. As he made new homes for souls and guided them through the periods of their own developmental readiness, he learned the role of the Father himself. The whole process was set up as a learning experience in gaining grace. The pleasure which is derived from sex as such is reliable only because it stems from an error which people shared. Awareness of that error produces guilt. Denial of the error results in projection. Correction of the error brings release. The only valid use of sex is procreation. It is not truly pleasurable in itself. Lead us not into temptation means do not let us deceive ourselves into believing that we can relate in peace to God or our brothers with anything external. The sin of Onan was called a sin because it involved a related type of self-delusion, namely, that pleasure without relating can exist. The concept of either the self or another as a sex object epitomizes this strange reversal. It is objectionable, but only because it is invalid. Upside-down logic produces this kind of thinking. Child of God, you were created to create the good, the beautiful, and the holy. Do not lose sight of this. Invite me to enter anywhere temptation arises. I will change the situation from one of inappropriate sexual attraction to one of impersonal miracle working. This is the real meaning of changing the channel for libidinal expression. The love of God, for a little while, must still be expressed through one body to another. That is because the real vision is still so dim. Everyone can use his body best by enlarging the perception of others so they can see the real vision. This vision is invisible to the physical eye. The ultimate purpose of the body is to render itself unnecessary. Learning to do this is the only real reason for its existence. We said before that prayer is the medium of miracles. The miracle prayer is, if you will tell me what to do, I will to do it. This prayer is the door that leads out of the desert forever. This, however, is not a complete statement, because it does not exclude the negative. We have already told you to add the thought, and not to do those you would not have me do, in connection with miracles. The distinction has also been made here between miracle-mindedness, as a state and miracle doing as its expression. The former needs your careful protection because it is a state of miracle readiness. This is what the Bible means in the reference to hold yourself ready and other similar injunctions. Readiness here means keeping your perception right side up, so you will always be ready, willing, and able. These are the essentials for listen, learn, and do. You must be ready to listen, willing to learn, and able to do. Only the last is involuntary, because it is the application of miracles which must be Christ-controlled. But the other two, which are the voluntary aspects of miracle-mindedness, are up to you. To channelize does have a narrowing down connotation, though not in the sense of lack. The underlying state of mind, or grace, is a total commitment. Only the doing aspect involves channelizing. This is because doing is always specific. A channel must learn to do only what it is supposed to do. The prayer should therefore read, "If you will tell me what to do, only that I will to do." Revelation is literally unspeakable, because it is an experience of unspeakable love. The word awe should be reserved only for revelation, to which it is perfectly and correctly applicable. It is not appropriately applied to miracles, because a state of true awe is worshipful. It implies that one of a lesser order stands before the greater one. This is the case only when a Son of God stands before his Creator. The sons are perfect creations and should be struck with awe in the presence of the Creator of perfection. The miracle, on the other hand, is a sign of love among equals. The equal cannot be in awe of each other, because awe always implies inequality. Awe is not properly experienced even in relation to me. I kneel beside you, facing the light. An elder brother is entitled to respect for his greater experience, and obedience for his greater wisdom. He is also entitled to love because he is a brother, and also to devotion if he is devoted. It is only my own devotion that entitles me to yours. I have knelt at your altar as readily as I would ever have you kneel at mine. There is nothing about me that you cannot attain. I have nothing that does not come from God. The main difference between us as yet is that I have nothing else. That leaves me in a state of true holiness, which is only a potential in you. No man cometh unto the Father but by me is among the most misunderstood statements in the Bible. It does not mean that I am in any way separate or different from you, except in time. Now, we know that time does not exist. Actually, the statement is much more meaningful if it is considered on a vertical rather than an horizontal axis. Regarded along the vertical, humanity stands below me, and I stand below God. In the process of rising up, I am higher. This is because without me, the distance between God and humanity is too great for you to encompass. I bridge the distance as an elder brother on the one hand and a son of God on the other. My devotion to my brothers has placed me in charge of the sonship, which I can render complete only to the extent I can share it. This appears to contradict another statement, I and my Father are one. It doesn't. There are still separate parts in the statement, in recognition of the fact that the Father is greater. Actually, the original statement was, are of one kind. The Father and the Son are not identical, but you can say, like Father, like Son. The Holy Spirit is the bringer of revelations. Revelations are indirectly inspired by me, because I'm close to the Holy Spirit and alert to revelation readiness in my brothers. I can thus bring down to them more than they can draw down to themselves. Jean Dixon's description is perhaps a better statement of my position. Because my feet are on the ground and my hands are in heaven, I can bring down the glory of heaven to my brothers on earth. The Holy Spirit is the highest communication medium. Miracles do not involve this type of communication because they are temporary communicative devices. When the sonship can return to its original form of communication with God by direct revelation, the need for miracles is over. The Holy Spirit mediates higher to lower order communication, keeping the direct channel from God to humanity open for revelation. Revelation is not reciprocal. It is always from God to you. This is because God and you are not equal. The miracle, on the other hand, is reciprocal because it always involves equality. The miracle is a learning device which lessens the need for time. In the longitudinal or horizontal plane, the true equality of all the members of the sonship appears to involve almost endless time. But we know that time is only an artifact introduced as a learning aid. The sudden shift from horizontal to vertical perception, which the miracle entails, introduces an interval from which the doer and the receiver both emerge much further along in time than they would otherwise have been. A miracle has thus the unique property of abolishing time by rendering the space of time it occupies unnecessary. There is no relation between the time a miracle takes and the time it covers. It substitutes for learning that might have taken thousands of years. It does this by the underlying recognition of perfect equality and holiness between doer and receiver on which the miracle rests. The miracle is unstable but perfectly consistent. That is, it does not occur predictably across time, and it rarely recurs in comparable forms, but within itself it is perfectly consistent. Since it contains nothing but an acknowledgement of equality and worth, all parts are equal. We said before that the miracle abolishes time. It does this by a process of collapsing it. It thus abolishes certain intervals within it. It does this, however, within the larger temporal sequence. It establishes an out-of-pattern time interval which is not under the usual laws of time. Only in this sense is it timeless. By collapsing time, it literally saves time, much the way daylight saving time does. It rearranges the distribution of light.